What's up, YouTube? It's Mike here with Grinding Gears Garage. We're up at our friend Andrew's shop today, working on his GSXR 1000. He currently uses it as a drag bike at a local motorcycle club. The other day he blew the clutches out, so we are going to be installing a new clutch pack in it. Go over the tools needed, the order of breaking the bike down, changing the clutches. So we're going to go over to the tool bench, talk about the clutch, oil we used, and all that good stuff. So last night Andrew soaked the pads in his wife's nice Rubbermaid container. If you don't want to get killed by your wife, a milk jug always works great. Cut the top off, you can soak it in oil that after you clean it out. So we got the clutches soaking overnight. We got a new set of springs, new set of metal friction plates, and he soaked it overnight in the Rotella oil that he runs in his bike on a usual basis. So we're gonna go over to the bike, get a tripod set up, and start breaking the bike down and pull the old clutches out. So on Andrew's bike, he had to cut the front fairings off to clear his Brock's exhaust. So he has the piece here. They were scraping real bad, as you can see, with the fairings on. So to get to your drain plug, we recommend removing your front fairing, because you'll be able to get to the drain plug, but you're going to make a mess, spilling oil everywhere. So you got 3 bolts here along the front. You got 1 up top here, and then there's 2. Obviously, this bolt's here. So you'll have 1, 2, and 3. They'll come off, and then you'll have 2 underneath. Now on your inner fender, there are 1, 2, 3 bolts, and then 2 here that join the top piece to your lower fender. Andrew does not have them bolted for removal purposes at the track. So once you get all that removed, your side panel will come off. We don't have to remove it to do any of the work due to them being cut for the Brock's exhaust and for the bike being lowered. So we got the bike up on jack stands in the back to get the oil pan underneath the actual oil pan on the bike. It's a little tight clearance wise because he has it lowered a lot for drag racing. So if you're going to do an oil change, he has to remove his headers. The Brock's headers get in the way of the oil filter. He doesn't have that many passes on this oil, so he is not going to be changing the oil filter at this time. But we're going to go ahead and drain the oil out and then remove the clutch cover. So you're going to need a 17mm to break the drain plug loose. So you want the bike as close to level as possible when you're draining it. If you want to do it the redneck way, like Andrew and I have in the past, you just lean the bike on its side and you can actually keep all the fluid in it, but it's not the 100% right way to do it, but we've done some things not right before. So draining the oil, we'll go ahead and pop the clutch cover off. So we're just loosening up our clutch cover bolts. They are an 8mm head, and there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 total. We started in clockwise, or at the top, worked our way in a clockwise direction, laid them out in this box so we don't lose them. So we're going to keep loosening them up, and we're going to pop our cover off. So we got all our bolts loosened up. We moved the oil pan back under to catch any drips. So we're just going to go ahead and pop the cover off. Now, if you're careful enough, like we were, you can actually reuse these. We're actually going to pop a new one on because Andrew has one on hand, like a smart person would when doing a clutch. So there's your clutch right there. We are going to grab our Allen socket, pop out our 5 bolts, springs, and pull the clutch apart. So we got our cover off. We have our 5mm here, taking our pressure plate bolts out for the spring. Be careful. If you're not paying attention, these things tend to fly out. And you definitely don't want to lose the washer or the bolt. We have new springs to go in, so if you lose the spring and you have new ones, you should be okay. So we have all of our springs out and our bolt and retainers. They're not washers. According to Andrew, they are retainers. So I want to make sure that's right. So we got our bolts out, so we're going to pop our pressure plate out. And take note that the last friction disc goes in the top of the basket. So we're going to pop this out. And as you can see, those babies are pretty worn. So we're going to pull the stack out, take a better look at them. Also, don't forget there is a needle bearing on the back side of your pressure plate. Be sure you do not lose that or you will have all kinds of problems. So one thing we found out while taking Andrew's clutch out, so he has this nice little tool from Brock's to do his springs for his header. This actually fits right underneath the clutch plate, and you can grab the back of it and work it around and pull it out. The clutches towards the back of the stack are pretty tough to get to because of this plate here on the basket. Normally on our four-wheelers, you can just grab the whole stack and pull it out. So we got it all out. The basket is actually in really good shape. There's no real divots in it from it hammering back and forth, so the basket's in good shape. We're going to grab our new clutch pack and the metal friction discs, and we're going to put the new clutch together. One thing you want to save from your old clutch is this spring right here. It's like a washer slash spring. It's going to go in between the last fiber and the first fiber and the first metal that you put in. It's a nice little spring washer. So here's our new metal plates, and here's our old metal plates. They are the color of the rainbow. They got pretty hot. Andrew was cutting 1.5 60-foot times with the bike, so he was doing pretty good for a spanked clutch. There's actually not a whole lot of friction material left on a few of these. Some of them are actually almost flat. So it's definitely time for a new clutch. These are going in the trash or on his memorial wall. So we got our new friction discs here. We're going to grab our fiber material and slap it in. All right, so we got our first fiber in all the way back. You don't want to forget about this spring washer. It's going to go in with the, see how it's concave? You're going to want the part that goes in towards the clutch, in towards the fiber disc, in first. This metal part here is going to ride against our first piece of metal plate. So we're going to go ahead and put that on. Then we're going to grab our first metal plate. We're just going to keep alternating these back and forth until we're at the full stack. Alright, so on your friction discs, there's two sides. There's actually they call it a sharp edge, but it's not that sharp. But there's an edge here. The other side's a little bit more rounded. According to the stuff we read online, it doesn't matter which direction they're going as long as they're in the same direction. So we were putting all of ours with the rounded edge in towards the engine. So we got all the plates and friction material in. Don't forget, last one goes in these little notches on the end of the basket. So we're ready to put our pressure plate back in. Remember, don't lose your needle bearing there. But this pretty much goes on any orientation as long as you have these studs through the holes. I think, there we go, needle bearing dropped a little bit. So we have these new heavy duty springs. We're going to open up the package, lube them up a little bit, and bolt them on. So we got our springs and bolts with our retainers back in. We're going to grab our torque wrench, run these all the way in, and torque them down to 7 foot-pounds. So we got all of our bolts, springs, and retainers tight, 7 foot-pounds. So we're going to go ahead and put the clutch cover on with our new gasket and put new oil in it, and we'll be ready to fire up. Alright, so we got our clutch cover on. Suzuki did not have a spec in the manual for the bolts, so we just tightened them to a decent amount of tightness. We didn't really hammer down on them. So we got our fill plug out. We're going to go ahead and put our drain plug back in and put 3.8 US quarts of good old Shell Rotella oil into the bike. So we got the clutches done. Just going to fire it up, let you guys listen to the Brock's header with loudmouth, see what you guys think. Grab.
Oh yeah.
How do you feel about the new clutches?
She fucking works.
That's what we like to hear. We'll see how it runs this weekend at the track.